Good morning.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year and welcome to our Foundation at Home online gathering. From our home to yours, we are so excited to share today with you guys. My name is Robin and I'm the Kids First Director here at Foundation, which means I lead kids from birth to 5th grade. And this is my husband.
My name is Christian and I'm the Production and Marketing Director here at Foundation.
Right, which means he does a lot of cool things that I have no idea how to do. But we're so excited that you're here with us. If it's your first time and you're new with us, you're gonna want to text the word new. How do you spell it?
N-E-W.
Perfect. To 678-661-6330. When you do that, you're gonna fill out that form because we have a gift just for you. It's a Mad Mexican gift card and you're gonna get in the mail this week. You know, Foundation, we just really believe in healthy families. And so we want to help you have a dinner or a lunch with your family this week. So go ahead and text that word new to 678-661-6330. 2020 is done.
It's gone.
We made it. Woo! It's
There.
2021 officially, right? Here we are. I hope it started off really well. But as we look back this past week, you know, we talked about some of our top 5 moments on our social medias. And so there was stuff like, first mobile baptism, church on a hike, raising $10,000 for Bridging the Gap in 10 minutes. That was pretty incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we're curious, do you have a top 2020 moment with Foundation? Go ahead, comment it, put it in the chats. We'd love to hear about it. What about you, Christian? Do you have a top 2020 moment with Foundation?
I think every moment with Foundation is a top moment.
Right,
But
naturally.
I think if I were to pick one, it would be Foundation in the Park, the very first one that we
The
did.
very first one, right. That was the first time we all got to be back together in person, socially distanced. That was a really cool one.
How about you?
Yeah, it was pretty hot that day, wasn't it?
Well, it's not. Do you have a favorite moment from 2020?
Oh, I have so many moments from 2020, but you know me, I just love looking forward to the future, and I'm already trying to figure out 2021, what's my top moment for Foundation 2021? You know, it could even be today.
Today.
Yeah.
Foundation at Home?
Foundation at Home, why not? This is a pretty cool thing that's happening.
Yeah. Do you think Clint's message will...
I think Clint's message is pretty incredible. You guys are gonna love what he has in store, but there's something else. Today, our Foundation worship team releases their second album.
Yes.
Whoop, whoop. Yes. They've worked incredibly hard on it. It is called Mountains and Valleys, and it's live now on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere where you stream music, you can listen to it. You can download it, you can buy it. It's incredible. They've worked so hard on these songs, and they've really just poured some heart and soul into it. And in fact, we love these songs so much. We know that you guys are going to love them. We're going to do something a little different. Typically for at home, from here, we'd go straight into Clint's message. But not today. The Foundation worship team has a treat just for you. Go ahead, guys. Take it away.
I am weary from the waves crashing over every day. God of mercy, please come rescue me. I am longing for your voice, your gentle whisper in
are here in Colorado in the Rocky Mountains. Right now we're at 10,000 feet. Behind me there's some 12,000 foot peaks. We didn't quite have the gear to make it to the 12,000 footers, you know what I'm saying? But man, what a view. These mountaintop views are incredible. It reminds me of the incredible moments in my life. You know those mountaintop views I'm talking about. Think about it real quick, and let me make a disclaimer because I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you to share in the comments, what is your mountaintop moment in your life? Now, let's disqualify a couple. Let's disqualify our wedding day, or the birth of our children, and if you're someone who's of faith, the day that you decided to put your faith in Jesus. So let's not do those, but what are the other moments? Just list them. Put them in the comments real quick. I'll tell you, one of mine, goodness, this wind's blowing so good. One of mine is back in 2013. I had the opportunity to surprise my wife, Brooke, with a little getaway during winter break. And I didn't tell her where we were going. She was pregnant with our second child, Hadley. And so we arranged, for someone to watch Emerson for the week and just said, hey, pack your bags, it's gonna be cold. And she didn't find out we were going until we got to the airport. And so we get to the airport and we get to our gate and she realizes we are headed to Seattle. Now I know what you're thinking, Clint, you ever been to Seattle in February? Yes, I have. It happened once in 2013. I wasn't thinking, okay. Look, we had a really good friend who had a place that helped arrange us for a place to stay. And I was like, hey, a free place to stay, let's go, you know what I'm saying? And so we just headed to Seattle. So our family loves to do national parks, and so Olympic National Park is there. And so I told Brooke, I convinced her one day, and again, she's pregnant with our second child. This is February, and so I convinced her, hey, let's do a little hike. And so she's like, I don't know if I want to do some hiking. I said, it's gonna be great. We're gonna hike in Olympic National Park. And so we found this one hike. It wasn't too bad. It was just a mile in. There was a brand new bridge that was over this gorgeous river. And as we start to go, and she's not thrilled because, again, I didn't tell her we were going. She didn't know we were going hiking, so she had tennis shoes and jeans on and a pea coat, you know what I'm saying? So I had boots on, and I had pants that you could go hiking in. She wasn't really prepared. Now, even though we do a ton of hiking in these national parks, she was not prepared to do this. And so, and you're wondering, how does this turn into your greatest moment? Here's the deal. We ended up hiking a couple of miles in the snow in Olympic National Park, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And now there was a few moments where Brooke was completely ready to be done, but the more that she looked around and the more we realized together that this was an incredible experience. The hike in a national park in a place that we're unfamiliar with snow everywhere and these evergreens, just long leaf needle evergreens with snow and ice. It was just one of the most gorgeous places I've ever been. And it made it that much more so because I experienced it with the person I love most on this planet. Those are the kind of mountaintop moments I'm asking you about. That definitely is in my top 10 experiences of my entire life because of where we were and because of who I was with. Tell me about your mountaintop moments. Think about them. Have you listed them in the comments? What's your one or two? Here's the deal. I think if we look back on 2020, we would recognize that 2020 was not a mountaintop moment, was it? In fact, it likely robbed many mountaintop moments from us. And as I look back on 2020, there are moments where I'm like, you know what? You ruined a ton of my plans. And a lot of those plans could have been mountaintop moments. You know what I'm talking about. We love to live on the mountaintop. We wish that our lives could be just full of mountaintop moments. But that's just not the truth, is it? That's not the world we live in. Though we yearn and we work for mountaintop moments. You know, you never hear anyone say, man, I wish I had more valley moments. I wish I had more moments in the valley. Come on, baby, bring on the valley moments. And it's because we love the mountaintop. But maybe we should reconsider this. Maybe we should rethink it. I'm just gonna press into you just a little bit. Would you lean in with me? Because maybe I would like to just throw an idea out there that maybe we should look for more valley moments. In fact, maybe we should recognize, maybe it's possible that the valley is where real living is. I don't know. I want to take you on a journey this morning. And it's not going to be on the mountaintop. You ready to go? I get it. It's kind of nerve-wracking coming off the mountaintop moments towards the valley. We wish we could stay 10, 12,000 feet. It's just not doable. Honestly, the trip down is kind of treacherous. We got to be careful of our footing. And honestly, this idea of dread of the valley, it's pretty common. It's not just common for normal folks, it's common for the people of God, right? There's this one moment where the people of God in the book of 1 Samuel, they got some enemies. And 1 Samuel, I believe it's 17, tells us that they were at war. And so on one side of the valley of Elah were the people of God, and on the other side were the Philistines. They're enemies, and they were there to destroy each other. The Philistines were done with the people of God. They were ready to put an end to it. And so you have these two people on these two sides of these mountains, in the foothills coming off these mountaintops, and there's this valley that neither of them will go into. Well, I say that. The people of God refused to go into. Actually, their enemy, he went on into the valley. His name was Goliath. And every day he would leave his mountainside and he would walk into the valley and he would challenge the people of God. He would mock them. He let them know that they didn't belong in the valley. That if they were to come to that valley, well, they were about to get whipped. I know that's how we feel sometimes. We feel like we can't go into the valley because in the valley, that's where we get whipped. You're right. You are right about this. Battles happen in the valley. True statement. But here's the deal. There was this kid named David. David had some older brothers that were fighting in the army of God, right? The people of God's army. And he was taking food to them. And so as he was taking food to them, he shows up and he sees these two mountainside armies with this valley in between and this Goliath that goes down and says, "Hey, come on in the valley, baby. Come off your mountainside. Come and get some." And David is standing around and he's like, "Hey, why aren't we going into the valley?" And people are like, "Well, that's because battles are fought in the valleys. There's evil in the valleys. There's all kind of stuff in the valleys. For some, there's death in the valleys. There's heartbreak in the valleys. Oh, you got to be careful even just getting to the valley." David says, "Hey, if our God is who we say he is, then we belong in the valley too." So David has a few conversations with some adults who tell him it's a terrible idea to go into that valley. And he says, "No." And David says, "I believe that God will be with me in the valley." And so he begins his descent. On his way, he finds a few stones to add to a sling, and he confronts this giant in the valley. He gets ready for battle in the valley. It only takes one stone. David puts it in his sling down in the valley, and he begins to twirl it around, and he lets it go, and it strikes the giant right in his head, and down he falls in the valley. You see, here's the truth. There's battles to be fought in the valley. Battles with evil, battles with our enemies, battles with folks that do not want to see us have a fulfilling, God-honoring life. Battles with people that want to take from us. squeeze from us the goodness that God's placed in us. And so we would just prefer to stay on the mountainside. But the truth is, we can go into the valleys, because when we go into the valleys, God's with us. Yes, battles are fought in the valleys. That giant fell in the valley, though, which also means there's victory in the valleys. You know, there's many times where the people of God are caught in these valley mountain moments. There's another particular time where the people of God they're fortified in their city, and like 32 nations get together to overtake them, and of course God's with them on the mountaintop. And so these nations, boy, they think they're going to do something. They don't. God gives them victory from their fortified mountaintop positions. But then something curious happens. Something that I think we really should learn from. Whew. The folks, they say, they gather together and they say, hey, the reason that the people of God beat us is because their God is a God of the mountaintops. That's what they're saying. And we believe that's their strength. That, in fact, they specifically say their gods are gods of the mountains. They're not gods of the valleys. Well, God hears what those people say, and that rumor starts to spread. And so God says, no, I'm not a one place, heavily fortified position, mountaintop kind of God. No, that's not the God I'm going to be. This 32 nation army regathers next summer, and boy, they bring just as many men, just thousands and thousands and thousands. This time, God says, hey, go meet them in the valley. I want to show them that I'm not just a God, the mountaintop. And so they do. What do you think happens? The people of God leave their heavily fortified mountaintop position and they take victory. What would it have been like if they decided, no, we're just made for mountaintop living? What if they didn't listen to God? What if they decided for themselves, you know what? Maybe we believe what the rest of the world's saying. Maybe God is only with us when things are good. Maybe God is only with us when we're on the mountaintops. I think God's whispering to you right now. And I think He's saying, I'm with you in the valley. Don't believe the lies that are told about the valley. And believe me, there are lies told about the valley. God says, hey, you can't stay on the mountaintops forever. Head on into the valley because I'm with you. The people of God, man, to have that kind of faith. Are you scared of valleys? Are you dreading valley moments? Has 2020 convinced you that all you've got in your life is valley moments? Let's take a deeper look at what the valley consists of. Maybe let's ask the question, where is God in the midst of my valley life? You ready to take a step into the valley? You see, we've been told lies about the valley. The enemy has told us that there's a giant waiting in the valley, and oftentimes there is. But the truth is The enemy also has told you that giant's waiting for you in the valley and God won't go with you. Because remember, God's only the God of the mountains. God's only the God of the hills. God can't be a God of the valley. He's wrong. Let me tell you, there's this passage of scripture, possibly one of the most famous passages in the entire Bible. I want to read it to you real quick. It's in Psalm 23. Let's take a look. Psalm 23, verse 1. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. So here's the deal. I get it. Verse 4, like I said, one of the most popular verses in the entire Bible. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, some of the older translations say, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right? And I get you, I know you're saying, okay, Clint, we get it. In the darkest valley, God will be with us. Okay, I hear you. But no. Did you read verses 1, 2, and 3 before you got to verse 4? Let's think about this for a second. I know we looked at 2020 and we said, man, 2020 has been the valley of valleys. But did you listen to verse 1, 2, and 3? You remember? The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want anything. I shall not have wants. Second piece of that, he makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside quiet waters. Let me ask you a question. Lean in for me. Just lean in for a second. Where are green pastures and quiet waters? They're not on the mountaintops. No, look at the mountaintops. Nothing grows there. And that's the truth. Nothing grows there on the mountaintops. And yes, we get to ascend to those mountaintop moments every once in a while. We have one of those top 5, top 10, maybe a top 3 moment, right? And we ascend to that moment and we catch a glimpse of heaven. It's like, man, I wish we could stay here forever. But the truth is we can't. It gives us a little glimpse of what heaven might even be like, just a taste. And we take that taste and we descend back to the valley. And we take a little bit of heaven with us. Because it's in the valley, that's where we do our living. And we take that heaven that we tasted on the mountaintop moments and we spread it around with every person we come in contact with. Because here's the deal. The truth is that we are valley people. Not just in 2020, we've always been valley people. There's never a moment in our lives, except for those mountaintop moments, where we're not in the valleys, because God is constantly leading us to green pastures, to quiet waters. And yes, the truth is, there are deepest, darkest valley moments. But in that very same valley are those green pastures and still waters. You see, the danger comes when we get stuck in those deepest, darkest valleys, because we listen to the lies that convince ourselves that once we're in the valley, we can't get out. Once we're in that deep, dark valley, God's no longer with us. And that's not true. That's not true. That valley charging giant slayer, that little boy that charged in there to face that giant, he's the one that wrote it. So I would say he knows about valley life. And I think we can learn something from it. You see, the truth is that 2020 has been one of those dark valleys. And that might continue as we start this new year. But the truth is, the green pastures, the quiet waters, the gorgeous valleys, the beautiful moments, they're just around the corner. Keep walking. Keep walking. Let me tell you a story about my friend named Lee. You see, for Lee, 2020 came early. It was December 9th, 2019. Lee wasn't feeling all that well the weeks leading up to it. And eventually, he and his wife Rebecca decided, hey, we need to go get this checked out. Turns out Lee was starting to fight a battle in the valley of cancer. In the next few weeks, Lee would find out that it was stage 4 colon cancer. Lee was walking through verse 4, even though I walk through the darkest valley, right? There was no meadow, there was no mountaintop to be seen. It was just deep and it was dark. And here's the crazy thing. Lee had already been walking through a pretty deep and dark valley. For decades, he had struggled with alcohol. And finally, on December 9th, he was 409 days clean and sober. And so he was asking that question, God, why did you help me defeat one giant only to send me back into the valley to face another? It seemed like this valley was unending. You feel like that ever? Can you relate? Or you feel like you're just in the desert? I want to tell you, Lee started walking through 2020 a bit early and went through chemo and treatment and surgery. And boy, this is the thing that Lee would tell you right now. He would say, hey, here's the deal. Just because you're in the desert, don't get stuck there. Keep walking. Keep walking. You see, Lee kept walking. And boy, he got ready to fight. You see, he had already put alcohol on its rear end, and now it was cancer's turn. You say he didn't stand on the edge of the mountain and say, God, if I go into the valley, I know it's going to be no good. He went into the valley. He spent time in the pasture, 409 days, just soaking up that valley living. And then suddenly that darkest valley showed back up and he says, hey, I'm ready to go. Cancer, come on with you. I'm going to just keep on walking because I know that my valley isn't only made of desert dunes. I'm going to keep on walking. Is that what you need to do in 2020? Keep walking? For Lee, that's what he just kept doing. About halfway through 2020, as the pandemic was at its height, his cancer was at its depth. You see, he had put it into the ground. He got a clean bill of health. See, that cancer was in remission. He put that bad boy underneath the ground. He just kept on walking. Here's the thing. I remember texting with Lee, and I said, man, Lee, praise God. Let's give him some glory, whether it's a miraculous miracle or a miracle of medicine. God's hand is in it. And I remember saying, Lee, I've talked to so many people all over that have said, man, 2020 has been the year of misery. Yet for you, it's been the year of miracle. I think we need to go back to something we kind of taught on earlier in the year in 2020. That we've got to stop asking God to change our circumstances and begin to ask Him, would you please change my perspective? Allow me to simply keep walking. You're a single mom right now and the pandemic has just added to it. Keep walking. Keep walking. Did you lose your job or have you been furloughed? Let me tell you, lean in with me. Keep walking. Did you get a diagnosis you weren't ready for? Did it punch you in the gut? I'm telling you, keep walking. I know you're in the desert. I know you're surrounded by the dunes. Just keep walking. You single dad? Stay-at-home school, no good. The pandemic changed your family. Did you miss milestone moments, mountaintop moments because of it? Are you in the desert? Just keep walking. Because here's the truth. Just like verse 4, even though we walk through the darkest valleys, I know you are with me. Jesus is with you. God is with us. There are battles to fight in this valley, but that also means there's victories to be won in this valley. There are giants waiting on us in this valley, but we know how to put them under the ground. Church, here's the truth. We were made for valleys. Because our God is the God of those mountaintop moments where we get a piece of heaven and we bring it to earth because we're valley people. Put us in the desert. We'll just keep walking. I don't know where you're at today, but that's what I want you to hear. Keep on walking.
What a great reminder to start off 2021. Hey, we have an exciting announcement for you. Whether it's your first time here at Foundation or you've been a part of what Foundation's doing for a really long time, you will not want to miss it. But before we get to that, every week we like to end our gatherings the same way. We like to focus the week in front of us through the lens of the cross. And we do that through communion. Now, communion we see in the Bible, Jesus got together with his disciples and he used bread and wine as a moment to remember what was going to happen. Now, for us, it really doesn't matter exactly what we use, whether it's a cup of grape juice or a cracker. Maybe you're at home and you don't have those things, so it's just a glass of water or a piece of bread or a chip, whatever it is. They become tangible things that help us remember that Jesus died for us. They help us remember that Jesus gave his life on our behalf. So sometime today, maybe it's right after this video, whether you're by yourself, with your family, sit down in your living room, gather together, get a cup of water, a cup of grape juice, a piece of bread, and remember what Jesus did for us. Because we know that when we do that, when we look at our valleys through that lens, when we look at our mountaintops through the lens of how Jesus died on the cross for us, what happens is it changes our perspective on life.
Yeah, and one of the ways it changes our perspective on life is it allows us to be more open-handed and more generous to those around us and those that are in our community. Just to let you guys know, church, we are 36 for 36 in meeting budget. Ever since we've been a church, we have met budget, and it's because of your consistency and your generosity. One of the ways that we've been able to be generous over the last several years is through our Ruth Hill Christmas Project.
Yeah.
And in that Ruth Hill Christmas Project, every year we're able to sponsor kids whose families may be struggling a little bit around Christmas time. This year, the project was almost completed. Almost all of the gifts had been handed out, and we got an email from a parent that we've worked with before who had decided to not jump in this year to receive gifts because their family was doing well. Unexpectedly, that took a turn for the worse. They lost a bonus that they were expecting to get because of COVID. But because of your generosity, we were able to jump in immediately and take care of Christmas gifts for those 3 kids. So our number is actually 80 that
Wow.
we've helped this year. And we're so excited because of your generosity and because of the gifts that you give, we were able to jump in without hesitation. One of the ways that you can continue to partner with us as we move into what God has for us this next year is by giving online. The link, it's foundationnewnan.com/give. It'll be in the comments below.
I mentioned earlier that we have a giant announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, on January 10th, we are having Birthday Sunday!
Hey, that's right. Next Sunday, January 10th, is Birthday Sunday, and you want to make sure that you're a part of it. Hey, what's a birthday without gifts? That's right. So we got gifts for the first 250 folks that show up on campus for in-person 9 or 11 next week. And hey, don't worry about it. If you're online, we got a few set aside for you. We're going to let you know, I think we're the first 10 that share the feed next week. We're going to have gifts for you as well. And so we're going to be pumped about that. Next week, we're turning 3 years old, and we are teenagers. And we are pumped about that, man. We can't wait to see you on January 10th for our 3rd birthday. Come on.